This is the Prestigious Initiative, and these are the points. I'm Chris Bean, and here with me is Chris Kent. Hello, Mr. Kent.
Hello, sir.
Today we're going to dive into your conversation with William Smith. Do you have any key concepts or takeaways to start us in?
Nothing really off the bat. You know, it's similar to the conversation I had with Quentin Carter, and it was just kind of nice to talk with him and kind of get an idea of what he's doing and where he's at. I know I got to pick his brain a little bit about some like productivity kind of things and things he uses, how he kind of uses digital software to help his everyday life and help his business, which was cool to hear some of his tips and you know his tricks for doing some of that. But altogether, it's just nice to talk with him and hear what he's up to.
Yeah, and so speaking of his business, he's a technical advisor, and his goal is to save people time as as one of his primary sources of principles of business.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could all use some efficiency. We've done several episodes with different people and on our own talking about time management, productivity, efficiency, all those kinds of things. And like I mentioned earlier, he's using technology and digital software, digital tools to help himself and other people do that. So what better way to step into a technological revolution and implementing those tools into our daily lives.
Yeah, he talked about AI, and we'll talk a little bit more about AI, but the ethics of AI with regards to like deep fakes. And if you don't know what a deep fake is, basically like you put somebody's head or face on somebody else's body, or you mimic their voice on a recording. So you have like a voicemail that is from so and so that you know that says, "Hey, I need that money for X or whatever," and people are definitely exploiting that, and that is not a topic that I see come up probably nearly as much as it should, but having that deep fake detection or at the very least understand that that's something that people are doing right now and to be aware of, I think was paramount.
I believe deepfake technology has been around for a while, except now deepfake technology and AI is much more accessible, and so we're seeing a rise in those pictures or those voice messages or videos or even social media accounts, stuff like that. All of it is fake, and the issue is it's becoming so good it's hard to tell what's fake and what's real. Sometimes I will do a quick scroll through Facebook and I see these pictures and I'm like, what is this picture of this person who probably wouldn't be doing X, Y, or Z thing or wearing X, Y, or Z thing? Well, it's a deep fake, but sometimes it's hard to tell because they're so good. And who knows how many times we've been fooled by AI and this technology and what's real and what's not real. And again, it's been around for a while, except I believe it's becoming more prevalent as this technology is advancing, becoming more accessible to everyday people. And so to hear that William is kind of on the lookout for some of these things and being aware of the ethics behind what he's doing and what he's helping other people do is huge, because if we're not trying to keep some of that stuff in check and trying to mitigate some of that negative content, it could be detrimental to a lot of people and eventually toward us as a society, when who's to say what is real and isn't real. And we've coming off some writers and actor strikes recently dealing with this AI stuff and the theft of property, intellectual property. If an AI writes a script, how can I, as a writer, make a job or make a living off my job when this AI can do it better than me? Or if an AI writes a script, is it really a ripoff of what I wrote because it studied my last three? There's so many different facets of this and the limits of AI and the restraints that should be put on AI. But it's good that we have people looking into it, dealing with it, and consciously taking the right steps toward making sure that we're using this as a positive tool rather than letting it become something that is going to be detrimental or harmful to our society.
Yeah, and this reminds me of a deep fake that I saw. It's probably a year or so old at this point, but it was Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson. I think there was one other person too, but at least those two, they were playing, I don't know, Fortnite or something. And the screen was the game, and it has their static images on it. And then you hear them, or what sounds like Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan playing this game, yelling at each other to throw these spells or I don't know, whatever, back and forth. It was really kind of bizarre. I mean, it was pretty early in that, where the deepfake technology was kind of open to the masses. It was arguably, I mean, believable, and they were playing fun because they were literally playing a video game. But to think that technology could be, that, yeah, and of course those two have a heaping load of conversations that are freely available for people to train their models on, or to get that voice excuse me, speaking of voice, get that voice just right. And again, I could see how that could be very scary. Have you seen that video? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay. I think Mr. POTUS showed it to both of us.
Probably.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. It just, yeah. Anyways, I hadn't thought about that, but speaking of deepfake, that really kind of brings that back up, and again, is certainly scary. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said earlier too, I think the scariest part is not knowing what is real and what isn't. Some things like that you can obviously tell are fake. I don't think Joe Rogan and Jordan Peterson are going to play Fortnite anytime soon with each other, let alone by themselves. Anyway, some of the things you can't tell whether real or not are the more concerning thing. But I guess that's the issue, is you can't tell. I don't know if that's a real picture or not.
Yeah. And I think we've seen this on movies before. The president gets on and says some sort of addresses the state, and it's not actually the president. It's a deep fake version of them. And of course that happens on a movie. So you're like, okay, but now in actuality, that is something that people, like the masses, could do and put together. And like you said, we wouldn't know the difference, which is certainly scary. Yeah. Now, moving from deepfake, and you guys talked a fair bit about AI, and his goal is to use AI to help small businesses stay up with the big companies. And there's a multitude of different ways that they can do that. But I thought that was a really interesting concept, because the small companies, the small businesses don't have the funds to hire all these people, but perhaps they have the time to develop these AI models into something that could facilitate these people that would otherwise be there.
Yeah, I think that's a good example of using AI as a tool. It quite literally is going to help them stay on the cutting edge of ideas, maybe even work, like you said, fill the roles of some jobs. Of course, within that, there are some ethics to consider. Are we taking jobs away from other people? Is it right for them to use AI and pass it off as their own, their own work? There's so many different nuances to it, but at the end of the day, I think it's incredible that we can be using AI to do some of these things, and it has the capability and the capacity to help in that kind of way. So as long as we can keep our ethics in check and have people that are able to kind of talk about, discuss, and figure out the morality of all of it, I think it's exciting to see that AI is progressing in this way, and that it can be used to do all these kinds of things that are going to be beneficial for businesses, for society, for people. And again, as we're stepping into even more technological advancement, just being able to see what it can do for us and be able to use that. Again, I'm very conscious to call it a tool, because it should be used for something very specific. And so being able to unlock some of that capability is huge.
Yeah, and so at where we work at, the system that we use as our customer service model was a CRM, customer. I don't know, I forget what the M stands for. Anyways, the CRM that we use, I wish I knew what that meant. The customer database where we keep all the information, we do all the payroll, or all the billing and everything through. They just launched a AI model that will plug into that. And the interesting thing about that is so if I have to write an email for somebody, I have a couple options. One, I could write an email, put the copy that I make into the AI model and have it fix any grammar or spelling issues. I can have it tone it in a persuasive tone, in a pleasant tone, or whatever, change the tonality of the words that I wrote, and then take that and plug it in. Or I can say, hey, write me an email about why this is beneficial, boom, boom, and do it in a persuasive tone, boom, boom, and make it sound pleasant, okay, boom, boom. And then I just take that the AI did, plug and play it, and then send it off, which is really, really interesting. And in all likelihood, many of the companies that we are interacting with on a daily are doing something like this, or they have a person designated to build that email copy or advertisement information in a persuasive tone but these small companies, they don't have that person that we can dedicate to that side of it. So to have an AI model that's built, that knows your business, that's, how about this, that is built and is programmed with the information required to answer the questions in line with your business, and then you can dictate how the tonality of that interaction is with the customer. That's really interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So hearing him talk about that, I think as somebody who's in a small business, I can certainly see the benefit to kind of outsourcing or using that AI as a tool to help with some daily type of tasks. I say help, not do it for us, but to help. I think that's the key. Another thing he talked about was the speed at which AI can get things done versus what a human can get things done. And kind of all of this that we're talking about is almost leading to getting humans outside of the work and having the AI do it almost for us. But in his talk about this, he talked about this as like the traffic people. You got the person that's up there who's directing traffic. And we don't have those people much anymore, but we have traffic lights. And when the traffic lights came about, people maybe were upset, disappointed that the person wasn't up there waving the flags to dictate where the traffic goes. But that was just the natural flow of things. Now everybody has traffic lights. And I'm sure at one point in time, when we had calculators in school, the calculator was seen as inhibiting the students' mental faculties to be able to think through the problems because it's just doing it for them. And you have Google. Google came out. We don't have to necessarily pick up a book and read through those pages anymore. We just search. And it's all kind of leading into where the AI is. And so just navigating that next journey for our life is going to be interesting. And again, I think that you and William were talking about using this as a tool and not as a replacement. I think is a key concept to keep in mind.
And it ties back into what I mentioned toward the beginning was the efficiency, the productivity. If you have the AI that can do something in 30 seconds that it takes you to do in an hour, oh my gosh, have the AI do it. Again, we're not advocating for full replacement of people because I think we're still a ways off from that, but also I think that might be a little bit dangerous, which could be a whole different conversation. However, again, if you can use it as a tool to do that work in a fraction of the time, oh my gosh, do it. If you can have your AI send all those emails for you, you don't even have to look at them. Boom, do it. That saved you 20 minutes of email you could be doing something else with. So again, it's that tool and seeing how it's progressing and seeing how it can be used for small businesses, large businesses, day-to-day life. Awesome. Great insights from him.
And, again, you guys talked about AI for a little while. So another concept that he talked about was using AI to help with like world type issues. Like, for example, he used the opportunity to use AI to help with the sustainability issue and using AI almost like a research partner or a team of analysts where you can ask it a question and then it would give you an answer. Now the answer it gives you have to parse through and actually get the relevant and important information from. But nonetheless, that is an opportunity to think outside the box and come up with different ideas that you yourself wouldn't normally have thought of because it has access to so much more than what we have access to.
Yeah, if you think about it, you can cram hundreds of different viewpoints into one AI process and have it look at the situation from every single viewpoint, where it would take you a lot longer to assemble 100 people to make sure 100 people could look through the problem, assess it, and give their again, it's the efficiency. If you can do it so much faster with the AI technology with this tool, why not do it? Of course, like you said too, you have to kind of go through the data and figure out what it says. However, that did most of the work there for you. And if you can train it up and keep it under control and keep the reins on it, that's a powerful tool.
I think that the key concept, the key takeaway here with AI is it can do all the things that we can do, but it can do it faster. Maybe not better, and probably not better, because right now we have to check and make sure it's doing the things that we're asking it to do, but it can do most of the things that we're doing, and it can do it faster. And using that as a tool in that regard to do the things that we're doing, maybe are monotonous, maybe are, that can be off-sided to that tool and use that way. But it doesn't necessarily replace the human aspect to it. We still need to actually be thinking about things in order to progress and move forward, not to just rely on AI to, just AI will do it for me. I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. Another key concept that he talked about was a fixed versus a growth mindset. And this is interesting because you recently also talked to Quentin Carter, where he talked about neurodivergent thinkers and neurotypical thinkers. And that kind of concept is linked, I think, with fixed mindset and growth mindset, where a growth mindset is a neurodivergent thinker. They're thinking about growth, they're thinking outside the box. And you have fixed mindset thinkers who are neurotypical thinkers, and they're the block placers. They're putting this block on top of this block and this block, and they're building the process, where the growth mindset people, the neurodivergent thinkers, are coming up with the key concepts and ideas. So it was interesting to have that correlation between those two guests.
Yeah, and as you bring that up right now, I think it's important that we have both of those. We have fixed and growth mindset people for different things, because some things should stay fixed and need to stay fixed so that the business operates the way it's supposed to. Other things can be a little more focused on growth and change and outside the box thinking to help the business to grow. So to hear them both talk about that in different ways, and I don't know if I would have drawn the parallel if you hadn't done it yourself, but to hear them both talk about that, the importance and the necessity for both of those things to be present is kind of prevalent right now. And maybe you have AI doing some of those fixed protocols, and you have some people doing the kind of the growth kind of protocols, or the other way around. You have the people doing the fixed protocols and the AI doing the growth kind of things. But either way, I think it's important to balance both of those for many different aspects to make sure that your business is on track, and then after it's on track, continuing to grow, it stay where it needs to be while you're growing as well.
Yeah, and I think really when I'm as you're talking, as what I'm hearing you saying is, and this applies whether AI is involved or not, but making sure the team that you're working with, each person on that team is doing the role that best suits them. Because if you have, let's say you have a wild, growth, open mindset, a neurodivergent thinker, but you have them in the role of putting those blocks on top of each other, they're going to be terrible at that. That's not the thing that they excel at. So to move that person into something that they excel at. And so, part of being a leader is, yes, you have to collect the people, but really then after I've collected the people, I have to know where to place the people so that they can perform the best. Because if I have one or two of them out of sequence, out of order, doing the wrong things, we're not going to be singing the same song. And the last thing that you guys talked about was trying to structure your life to maintain a better balance. And something that he does, excuse me, is he keeps Fridays and the weekends open as far as meetings and interviews goes, so that he has a more relaxed, easy type of weekend, and then he hits it for Monday again.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we talked with many people about how important balance is, and setting boundaries and schedules and stuff like that. So just an example of his schedule and what he does, find out what works for you, leave time to get your work done, leave time for self-care, leave time for, family and friends, and leave time for relaxation. But find a balance, find out what works for you. And maybe, again, harkening back to this whole conversation, maybe there's some technology, some AI, some apps or something that can help you schedule it out, help you keep all that in check. But, his life is proof that balance is important, and he's made it far for where he is, and kind of implementing that has been crucial to his success. Make sure you follow us on social media. You can find the podcast at Prestigious Pod.
You can find me, Chris Bean, at Chris Bean Official.
You can find me, Mr. Kent, at Mr. Chris R. Kent.
And if you like our content and would like to subscribe to our email, you can do that via our social media or on the website.
Make sure you also join our Discord for exclusive content and personal interactions.
If you would like to be coached on how to live a more prestigious life by me, Chris Bean, you can do that by reaching out on one of my social medias or by emailing the podcast at prestigiousinitiative@gmail.com.
Those are the points. Make sure you come back next week for even more points and another great conversation. Until next time, I'm Chris Kent.
And I'm Chris Bean.